Hello and welcome back to the Jessica Pinili podcast. This episode is going to be an extension of the episode before this. So, overcoming self-sabotage. This is really what to do to solidify perceiving yourself as someone who can overcome sabotage and to create the success, the growth, the results that you really want. Before we get into the episode, I just want to do like a mini update. I'm deep in the launch for the founding member cohort for Woman Mastery HQ membership. And at time of this recording, and this should be up before we begin this next week, but this is truly my life's work. This is truly my life's work. If you consume the podcast, especially, you have a really good understanding of how I coach, how I mentor, what I do, who I am. And if you love the podcast, if you love the takeaways from the podcast, then you need to get yourself into Woman Mastery HQ membership. If you listen to this episode and it's within the next couple of weeks, I am so happy. Even when the time is over, I'm so happy to honor the founding member code for you as a podcast listener. You just have to send me a DM on Instagram or you can send me an email. The details are in the show notes below. And this membership is truly my life's work. It is creating a support system to hold the duality of the strategy, the systems, the structure, but the subconscious identity, the mastery, understanding how to really perceive yourself, understanding how to really create a self-image that backs up the success you want. And look, you can have, and I've said this before, you can have the best strategy in the world, the perfect content plan, you can have the perfect plan of attack for anything. But if you don't see yourself as someone who can achieve that, if you are constantly up against limitations, fears, and doubts, then it's never going to work. And the previous episode and today's episode is going to be a great reflection of what we work on in phase 4. Phase 4 is all subconscious mastery. And there are a bunch of other trainings that reflect the first 3 phases, which is the systems, the structure, the strategy. If you are not watching here on YouTube and you're just listening on YouTube, I did a very comprehensive breakdown of how to not only create your first 10K month, but to also sustain that. And I don't just say, do this, do that. I show you how to do it. So if you want an insight into, okay, what's the other side to Woman Mastery HQ, go and watch that on YouTube, because that was, such a great training that I was able to create in long form content. And this is a space for brand founders, female entrepreneurs. If you are a career woman and you want to build your own thing, or you are sick of going to your 9 to 5, you want to build income, this is for everyone. Build income where you can live freely, you can invest, you can create generational wealth, but also be able to be so rooted in who you are as a leader, be so rooted in yourself as a woman, to trust yourself, to trust your decisions. This is the membership for you. You get access to, the resources, the trainings. And in fact, today is going to give a little insight into a training that's going to be taught in depth, and you get the support when you're implementing it and integrating it. But it is something that you get resources, trainings, but the support of business masterminding and also mindset identity calls, because I don't want it to be something that it's definitely not. I don't want it to be this space where you kind of half consume a training, which, by the way, I've made the trainings short, sharp, and to the point. There's no fluff, because no one has time for these 60, 90-minute trainings. Like, let's just get to the point. There are very specific things to allow you to integrate and implement, and I have just gotten to the point, because that's what you need when you build a business, when you're creating a life that is supported by your business and you're a busy woman like me. So that's a great thing about the resources, and they are a beautiful blend of both video trainings and audios as well. But you get the calls, the business masterminding, the mindset, you get to ask me questions, get coaching, get mentorship, have feedback, get audits, and to be supported over the next 12 months in what your next era is. And I just want you to take a second to think about what you want the next 12 months to look like. There is no point in telling yourself you need to do it alone, or there's no point in telling yourself that you figure it out. Woman Mastery HQ membership is exactly what I wish that I had. And this is why I created it. For women like you that want to make fuck you money and want to feel good about themselves and trust themselves. And so if you want to come in, like I said, over the next month, if you're listening to this podcast over the next month of when it's dropped, I'm so happy to still give you the founding member code. Send me a DM, send me an email, and you can sign up. And if we are past that month point, the link to sign up is in the description box below. But I can't wait. I'm just so excited. Like if you're watching on YouTube, you can see. And like I said, today, and I've got my notes here. Today, I am going to be teaching you how you can transform your identity in 30 days and truly do it. Not just a nice, vague, abstract concept where it's like I give you some generic tips that you could probably Google. No, I am going to take my framework that I am going to be teaching you in full and allowing you to implement, and where you can ask questions of the upside down why framework. And this is something that I created a couple of years ago. It has helped so many of my clients, my friends. I even have people who are my friends who are therapists and psychologists, and they have used this with their own clients. It's effective. It works if you put the time in to do the work. And I think the most important thing for me, as I'm looking at my notes and making sure that I don't forget anything, is the reason why I wanted to make this an extension of the episode before. So make sure you either go watch or you listen to the episode before, is because I wanted to really show you what happens when you have an identity, when you have a subconscious that works against you and works against the decisions that you really want to make to move you into the season of life that you really want to be in. Your identity filters through everything in your life and your business and your career, your money, your relationships, your health and your wellness. It determines who you are, what you experience. It determines exactly your results. So if you're not doing the subconscious identity work, you are truly missing out on not only being able to create results, but sustaining them. I know a huge fear with women who come and work with me, one of the things I say is, I can envision what I really want and I know my long-term vision, even if it's like ish, but they have this fear of, I can't maintain that. Or when I get it, it's all going to crash and burn, or it's going to be too good to be true. And that is identity work. I can have a conversation with you and within 1 to 2 minutes, I can tell you exactly and pinpoint what is happening, and I can guarantee it is going to be your identity in your subconscious. So we're going to go into exactly what you can implement and how you can actually change the way, like, what is identity work, right? What do I mean by identity, and how do I teach it, and what am I going to be supporting you with inside Woman Mastery HQ membership? Your identity is the perception of self. It is the way that you are wired to see yourself in this world. And from that, you will experience exactly how you perceive yourself. So if you perceive yourself as someone who is ambitious, someone who wants a lot of money, but at the subconscious level, you don't believe you're worthy, or you don't believe you can maintain it, or you don't believe that money is easy to make, that is the result you are going to get. So it doesn't matter how ambitious, how high performing, how high achieving you are. Your identity really is going to be the difference between you actually creating the success that you want and the results, and you not, and how long it takes. And sometimes we kind of like a breadcrumb ourselves where we start to change and we see some results, but then the subconscious layer is, if you still have these fears, these limitations, these doubts deep in your identity, your subconscious identity, you will hit the brakes. Have you ever experienced a influx of money in your business or your career? Have you ever wanted to go get more visible on social media? Or have you ever wanted to get promoted? And then all of a sudden, when you get those things or when you're so close, you either manifest a mysterious illness, a sickness, you start to pump the brakes, you start to do everything we spoke about in the last episode. You start to sabotage that. And that's because this is identity work. Now, I mentioned this in the last episode, but our bodies are literally wired for survival, not success. So again, it doesn't matter how much you want something or how much you're like, I know I'm meant for that in this lifetime, which I'm sure if you're listening or watching this, like you absolutely are. But it doesn't matter how much you have those thoughts. You need to wire your identity to be able to see that as safe. And so let's talk about my framework. I want to make this super practical for you. I want you to listen, to go implement, to go integrate. And if you want the support in this and you know that you have these limitations, these fears, and common ones that I see all the time with my clients is fear of being able to maintain, fear of success. Like, what does that mean about you? Fear of being judged, fear of being greedy for wanting more results, success, opportunities, and money, fear of failing and then not doing anything anyway, seeing yourself as someone who is brilliant and great and an expert, but you are so afraid that if you were seen invisible, you were going to be misunderstood, you were going to be rejected, you were going to be abandoned. That's a huge one. If you feel like you limit yourself, or you feel like I know what to do because you have enough knowledge, but you're still not taking those actions and you're still not moving forward, then you are going to forever be in this circle where you work really hard, you see the momentum, you see a little bit, like I said, the breadcrumb of results, and then you crash and burn, you revert back. And this is why people can stay in cycles. If you were the same person you were 90 days ago, then something is up with your subconscious, especially, and this is you, if you're listening or you're watching this, especially if you know, okay, I want these money results, or I want this success in my career, or I want my relationship to look like this, or I want this health and wellness fitness goal. Always come back to the subconscious. And this is why my membership, Woman Mastery HQ, has been created, because you need the duality of it all. So I want you to just imagine that you have an upside down Y. And if you are watching, you can see this, but on one side, so just imagine, especially if you're listening to this on your hot girl walk or you were driving in the car, upside down Y, get that visual inside your head. On one side, so if you're looking at it as if it's on a piece of paper, on the left side, you have the before. In the part where the top of the Y is upside down, so in the middle part down below, you have the in between, and then you have the ideal. And I want you to look at these sections, and this is exactly how your identity is broken up. Now, identity work, there's many layers, and this is why I'm giving you a little taste of what's in the membership, because you kind of need to combine all the other layers, your belief system, that's those subconscious beliefs that determine what you think about the world, which creates your personality, which creates your identity creates your behaviors. But then, of course, there is the side of nervous system capacity. So back to the framework. You pretend you're looking on a piece of paper. You have one side, it's old, one side in between, and the other side is new, to keep it super simple. I need you to write down all your old habits, behaviors, ways of being, all things. What I will say here is also put down things that you want to get rid of. So maybe they're not necessarily old, and this is going to serve a purpose to help you for the next section. So I want you to think, and if you can't do this and write this down right now as you're listening, just think about it. Like, what are the old behaviors? Maybe you really want to show up consistently and post every single day on social media, but you do it 2 days in a row and then you procrastinate. Maybe you want to be able to create a YouTube channel, and then every single time that you go to do it, you plan, you do all the things, something comes up. Maybe you want to lose 5 kilos and you lose 3, and by that point you start to make excuses, or you start to say life is too busy. Maybe you want to welcome in a brand new romantic relationship, and every time you're given the opportunity to go on a date, you make an excuse as why you can't. Like, what are the actual old behaviors that you take? You need to be really, really specific. So if you were to break that down more, I don't just want you to put, yes, every time someone asks me on date, I say no. I want you to actually see what your behavior is. Is it the way that you text? Is it that you actually ghost for 3 days? Is it you just end up freaking out and you delete the dating app and you don't download it for another couple of weeks? Like, what is a specific behavior? And like I said, put down behaviors that you also want to stop doing. So you're acknowledging what you, like your old behaviors. So that's probably what I just explained, like what you are currently doing. But I need you to also acknowledge the things that are no longer a part of you. This is just a really good reflection piece as well, to see that and wire in your brain that it is possible for you to change, even if it took you a long time to do it. So as well as the behaviors that you want to get rid of, you need to acknowledge, what are the things that I no longer do? Maybe you no longer scroll on TikTok when you need to do a live on Instagram. You just don't do it anymore. You say, I need to do a live, and you show up. Then I want you to look at the in-between. The in-between are those behaviors that you are still doing half-hearted. So it's really easy. Why I kind of say that at the start, those behaviors, is because it's easy to get those out first and then to reflect on what we used to do and how far we've come. So now get those behaviors and put what you currently do. They're the in-between. The way that I explain this, when I teach this to my clients, when I teach this to the members in the membership, is think of the behaviors that you probably sometimes do. So maybe you have a week where it's like, yep, to get to my goal weight, I need to be going to the gym 5 times a week. And maybe you have 2 weeks where you do that, and then the other 2 weeks you go once a week. So see how it's like the in-between? Like you're kind of getting a taste of it, but you're not really fully solidified in that. You're not solidified in the behavior of, actually, I'm going to show up, and going to the gym 5 times a week is actually just my normal, right? That's why it's the in-between, because you're kind of half there and half not. And, you know, I use the gym one because it's an example for me. Sometimes I get questions when I meet new people, and maybe we're talking about fitness and health, and I go to the gym anywhere between 5 to 7 days a week, because it's rooted in who I am and what I do and how I see myself, and it's just my normal behavior. And sometimes I tell people that, they go, oh my God, how can you stay so consistent? But this is the beauty of identity work, is it's never about trying to be more consistent. It's just about becoming. It's about becoming someone where the behaviors you desire, which we're going to go through in a second, are normalized. The behaviors that you truly want are normalized, that you don't even think about it. When people say that to me, I'm like, oh, it's not even a thought that crosses my mind, because it's just who I am. So get really honest in all areas of life. The easiest way is just break down into 4 areas of life: health, wellness, finance, wealth, business or career, and then relationships. And look at relationships as a whole: romantic, platonic, family, relationships. I nearly just went blank there. So once you've done that, take your time. Don't rush. Don't just list out like 5 and be like, okay, I'm going to move on, because you want to do this to the best of your ability. You then want to look at the other side. So the right-hand side of your page, or your imaginary page if you're driving right now. And I need you to understand what the new behaviors, motives, reactions, ways of being that you want to adopt. Now, don't just write random stuff. Like, let's say you want to become a millionaire. You're not going to write in there. And let's say you're making $150,000 a year, and your goal is to make $1 million in a year. Right now, you're not going to be like, my new behavior is I go out every week and I buy a new designer handbag, because you're probably not going to do that now. When we stretch our capacity, and I'll come back to that in a moment of stretching capacity, but when we do that, we need to put it on the edge where it feels like, oh, that's a big step, but it's not so unbelievable. This is where most people go wrong when it comes to subconscious work, identity work, self-concept work, is they try to just jump and leap with no substance, with no evidence, without teaching their body what should be normal, what should be something that is, number one, intentional, but something that you can internalize right now and work towards. So again, don't just, if you're making $150,000 and you want to make $1 million a year, do not put new behavior is I go out every weekend and I buy a new designer handbag. Or let's do another example. Maybe it's around business. You know, if you have just started your business, maybe, and you've never created content and you are just starting to refine an offer that you have, a product, a service, whatever it may be, you're just beginning. Remember, for this example, you are not going to put in there, my new behavior is I'm going live 6 times a week, and also I'm creating 15 TikToks every single day. Because again, maybe you can work up to that, and that's another layer of your identity in a new era of your life, but right now. So it's really the fine tune, and this is why the membership is important. When I teach this, it's about understanding the other layers, the subconscious, the beliefs, the nervous system capacity, right? But it's really about seeing where you're at, where you want to be, what is that next era, what is that next step? And yes, think big. But where most people actually fuck up is they think big and then they set themselves up for success. You need to stretch your capacity, which I'll touch on right now. So your nervous system's capacity, your ability to tolerate dysregulation, aka change. So how can you tolerate that? If I go to that example again of you want $1 million and you make 150 now, like imagine if you put on, okay, new activity, new behavior, I'm going to go every week and go buy a designer handbag. That is such dysregulation, because straight away you're not at that capacity. You're not stretching yourself. But maybe it's I know that I want to buy a coffee every single day. And right now I stress over doing that, and I only get once a week when I'm out on the weekend. So maybe it's slowly working up to that. I know that sounds so simple, but we need to stretch our capacity in the sense of teach our body that the change, which is dysregulation in our nervous system, it's not about let's just be calm about everything, because that doesn't work. It's about slowly stretching. But I really do want you to think outside the box, because when it comes to identity work that sticks, you need to see your tolerance for that. When you hit that sweet spot, you will know. You'll feel it in your body. You'll hear it in your mind. You will feel the discomfort. You will want to retreat. You will want to back away. And this is why listening to the episode before this is so important to understand. So now we're looking at this upside down why framework. We have our old behaviors, motives, reactions, things that, and I don't know if I highlighted this, but things that aren't you anymore. They're not. Things that are not you anymore. You know, I'll give you a personal example. Showing up daily on TikTok is super easy for me, and I do it very consistently for me. But an old behavior is me not doing TikTok or whatsoever, and me not posting anything. That's an old behavior. Like, it is so normal for me to be like, okay, I'm just going to create this for TikTok right now and post it. It's not even like should I, shouldn't I? It's like, it's part of my behavior. So looking at things like that. Now you've got your old behavior, you're in between, that's kind of getting you half there, half not, and then you've got the new things you want to step into. When you look at this is a great reflection, and really you should be auditing your identity at least every quarter. I mean, you do this, you can change in 30 days. So you'll be auditing your identity again, because you'll be at the level that you want to be. Now, the key here is to start to understand the in-between. I'm not going to sit here and be like, all right, just go do your new behavior. I want you to understand how your in-between habits, behaviors, cycles, patterns, motives, reactions, how they benefit you. When you understand how they benefit you and you're able, you will know, okay, this is a drawback because I scroll on TikTok every time that I want to show up, or I never pay a bill on time, and it gets me into, every time I get the bill, I just ignore it until it's too late, and then I get a late fee. You know the drawbacks to that. Now it's to understand all of these in-between behaviors, etc. What are the benefits to that? Now, there's a process inside my membership called the fear process. I went through it a little bit in another podcast episode, but again, you will get the entirety and how to actually implement and integrate and use it effortlessly. And there's shortcut ways to do it in life. Like, I'm constantly using the fear process, but understanding what are the benefits and stacking them up. Because when you understand the benefits, this connects to your subconscious beliefs and your nervous system's capacity. Can you see why it's important you get in the membership? Because I can help you with this. There's many layers to identity change. I watch far too many things that teach identity and self-concept work, self-image work, and it's kind of like, all right, who do you want to be? Embody that, really feel into that, and you just need to take those steps. That's all well and good, and yes, you do need to take action or else nothing is going to change, but there are so many different layers for when it comes to full subconscious mastery. This is why it is a main pillar inside the membership. When you understand the benefits and you understand what beliefs are supporting that subconsciously, when you understand why your nervous system has internalized anything outside of that, so aka the new habits and behaviors that you wrote, the why is so important, because not only do you learn about yourself, you develop self-trust, self-leadership, you also develop the discernment to understand why you do what you do. It's never a place to shame yourself or to judge yourself, but it's so important to be able to understand why you were doing it. And when you've got that, you can now start to reverse engineer and look at your new behaviors and habits on the other side. Look at the disconnect between your in-between habits and your new habits. And this is where the action and the integration comes in. How can you just focus every day when it comes to identity work and transforming your identity in the next 30 days? It's actually really about looking at how can I just look at it in a 24-hour period versus looking at the full 30 days. Look at what you're doing in there. I mean, you're not awake for 24 hours, but you know what I'm saying. In the full day, just look at what you were doing. Look at where you resist. Look at where you fall back into the in-between. And you need to ask yourself the hard questions. Okay, how am I benefiting? I said I was going to, my new habit is creating 3 TikToks, or my new habit is putting $500 into my savings from my pay I just got, but I didn't. The moment that I was about to transfer, I instead switched the app and I started scrolling TikTok for 2 hours. And then I justify why I don't need to put that money into my savings. Understand, because that's going to be the key. If you look at every day just by itself, isolate it, and you can start to make these small shifts and change to dissolve the in-between behaviors and really, really understand it's not serving you anymore for your next identity. Yes, there's benefits. It serves you in some way. That's why you keep doing it. We do anything because it benefits in some way. And I know that some people will say, well, no, like, I don't know, I keep smoking and that doesn't benefit me. Yeah, maybe not your physical health, but maybe it benefits your mental health. Maybe it benefits the way that you connect to people. And you feel connected because everyone around you actually smokes. And so you feel that connection. You feel like you're part of something, a tribe, which is wired into us from caveman times. See, there's a benefit there. But in every 24-hour period over the next 30 days, you need to look at that and then dissolve it in real time and then think, what are the behaviors that I'm going to replace that with instead? And that is the stretching the capacity. Go away, go do this. Comment below if you're watching here on YouTube, if you are going to do this, because I would love to see you. And if you are listening to the podcast, slide into my DMs, post this on your story, tag me in your story. Let me know that you were starting this. You were starting day 1. Let me know in the comments. And I absolutely believe in you. If you want the full support system, if you want to know all the different layers, including the fear process, nervous system capacity, and understanding your belief system and how to really change that, come into the membership. The link is in the description below. And I'm just so excited to support women in this, because this type of work has truly changed my life, my business, my relationship with money, my relationship with myself. That's the most important thing in life. Why wouldn't you want to make the most out of your life? Why wouldn't you want to make the most of who you are and what you do and what you are creating in life? And yeah, we all have moments. I had moments in my 20s where I look back and I'm like, fuck, I was wasting life. I was wasting my potential and opportunities. Yeah, we all have that. But this is your sign. This is truly your sign to change that. I hope that you got so much out of this episode. Please let me know, comment below or send me a DM on Instagram or tag me in your stories with this podcast episode. As always, I appreciate you watching or listening to this episode. I love you guys. And actually, before I say goodbye, I was looking at all the countries just a few days ago. I was showing my partner. My Americans, you were number one so far for my listeners. And then it's actually South Africa, and then it's Australia. And I've got people everywhere. New Zealand, Singapore, France, Colombia, Poland. Did I say Canada? Everywhere. It's so incredible. I started this with a Yeti microphone, if you know, in a wardrobe, like quite literally in a wardrobe to get good sound. And now I get to reach you all over the globe. That's actually crazy. One of the questions, this just came to mind, of the membership. Yes, it will serve different time zones. There is also the possibility to have the replays, but to also submit your questions to make sure you're not missing out on anything. Any questions on anything, send me a DM, write it in the comments below. I appreciate you so much, and I will speak to you in the next episode. Bye.